at the duration of action, this one lasts for about 2.5 hours, and this one lasts for 5 or 6 days, and it lasts for a week.
If it's too much, or if it's not enough, would it cause her to sleep not right regularly?
I'll get to that.
Okay. Sorry.
T3 does this much work. T4 does this much work. What do you suppose is in the medicine she's taking?
T4.
So this is armor thyroid, isolated from animal thyroid glands.
That's what I take.
The nature's right. Yeah, that's what she should be taking.
Okay.
This this has all of the go power in a short amount of time. So if you look at a presence over the course of a week, that's what T4 does.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at what T3 does, it goes.
Okay.
So
And
we
this
could
would be
control
sundown.
that. We could control that, the lump, if the T3 was
We could
regulated.
give her T3 and she'd have a lump. Because otherwise, it has to come from the conversion
Right.
of T4 to T3. Now, I don't know much detail about that conversion, except that stress inhibits it.
Uh-huh.
They're all stressed out.
That what you get when you're under a lot of stress because of cortisol
Yeah.
is reverse T3, and it doesn't work.
Oh, snaps.
But it unloads the burden of the ooze and slime, but
Yeah.
it gets the wrong iodine gets taken out
Yeah.
by no mistake. You know, the snow hasn't melted, you know, you're still sick, injured, bleeding, you know, stressed out.
Yes.
So that may have something to do with it, just in changing what I think to be an ineffective amount of T4.
Okay.
It's, you know,
It makes so much sense to me, always being on thyroid and being on all the thyroids. It makes so much sense to me.
and you've been one to appreciate it.
Completely.
You know, I think it's magic. At any rate, so that's the thyroid story that I think applies.
Mm-hmm.
Incidentally, the other creative hormones, both anabolic and catabolic, cortisol I'll talk about next, the catabolic hormone,
Yeah.
is responsible for keeping you alive. Dead you would be in 2 or 3 days with none. Cortisone, cortisol, makes sure that fuel gets to your vital organs, brains, heart, kidney, and the like. Estrogen gets fuel to your femininity and testosterone to your masculinity. You can have breasts if you want. You know how to do that.
Absolutely.
You know? Take too much testosterone, it takes over. You know?
You don't want them, trust me.
Well, I'm glad they're on women. Don't get me wrong. But,
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I know that it happens, though. I've seen
yeah.
men with breasts.
Oh, sure. And that's about estrogen.
Yes.
And so is a beard about testosterone. Well, the anabolic steroids that create sending or permit delivery of fuel to disposable functions, you can't reproduce really if you're starving. You shouldn't be. Your ball die, you know, are suppressed when you're under stress
Yes.
by the mechanisms of cortisol. Now, back to cortisol, which is an anabolic steroid that makes sure your heart and lung and stuff like that get the problem. It has won a lot of bad rap because of prednisone, who is a wannabe synthetic, and you know, because it's been overused and abused and miscalculated. But my position on this is that with none you're dead. You gotta have some. With too much, you're gonna regret it. You know, your hair is gonna fall out. You know, all the non-essential things are gonna wither away. Your skin gets thin. Your fat goes into funny places. You know, that kind of stuff. But there's got to be a sweet spot.
Yes.
And I think I'm looking. I'm
No,
trying.
we're here for you. We're looking too.
Yeah, I'm looking like crazy. So I have been through about I want to say 50 or 60 cortisone pills, real cheap and easy to get, in the last 6 months or so, and I'm finding it to be the case. Over the weekend I went skiing at Park City, last ski weekend of the year. Kind of fun.
Yes.
Not enough practice. You know, I went up there rusty, wimpy, weak, you know, weary, and boy, my quads were melting down. But I skied for 2 days, and I was able to do it. And when I woke up the next day, after sleeping in the airport in Phoenix because I missed a flight. You know,
Painful.
I wasn't.
You
I
weren't.
wasn't.
You were not in pain.
I was, well, the quads are pretty sore. I didn't get up real fast. But, you know, I wasn't wasted
Right.
Like we get.
like you get. You can't hardly lift your head, you know. I get going and go, ooh, quads. But, I mean, I was okay.
Wow.
And I attribute that to, you know, kind of probably, 5 times as much cortisone as I'd ever taken in a weekend. But I used that, and it kept my vital organs going. And I left my aspirin at home.
Yeah.
Por pendejo. But, you know, my quads were killing me.
Right.
The issue is not that I have much wisdom to share with you about anecdotal experience, but I think cortisone is something worthy of a little consideration. And is it modestly enough because that's the best you can do when you need more, like adrenal fatigue? Makes sense? Or is it, it's not too much, it downregulates. I can't imagine if you have a tumor you have too much. Or is it frankly too little because you just have wasted your adrenals on too much stress?
Mm-hmm.
The other one, we talked about thyroid, and the cortisone is something to definitely consider. And your kids are kind of out of the way of anabolic steroid need. I think that your experience with insulin is encouraging, and that growth hormone thing is sort of spooky. Not to me. I think it's just as sweet can be. But, you know, the public opinion about growth hormone is that,
This is what the
spooky.
babies, this is what they think. Because
Yes,
I've
yes,
asked 2 of them,
yes,
and
yes.
they've come back and they say, that's God's business. And I says, no, God's allowing it to become our business by doing this.
God helps those who help themselves.
Yes. And that's why we're here, because they're not of adult age, even though one's 18. They don't know. They want to be normal kids, so they try to ignore everything, and then they...
Yeah, I'd say, if God had his way, you'd be a perfect angel.
Wow. A rebel one, maybe.
Oh, yeah. You know, and so my thought would be to consider a couple things. Anyway, just into the mix of things. You've all heard of ADD, you know that.
Yes, they all have it. We all have it. Or we think we have it.
If you look at the spectrum here.